Welcome to Inspiration Radio, Growth Principles for Humanity and Progress. Join us when we share information, wisdom, and ideas how to create an extraordinary future for us all. The future is open. We together decide what will be in it. Welcome to another episode, as we say, something for humanity and progress, and the understanding we are in progress, and I strongly believe we will have a bright future as humanity. Maybe the individual might suffer, but on the long run, we as humanity will grow. Why? First of all, I trust in life, and we learn. We can learn. On the other hand, we see a lot of things are going wrong, if it's politics, if it's wars, if it's economy. Yes, life has its ups and downs, but in the long run, everything is better. Today, I will talk with a lady about health. And here we also see, some say in America, now we have a young generation which dies before the parent, because how they grow up, with what food they grow up, it's more killing than really helping them to strengthen their immune system. Alexsandra Rehlinger, The Art of Health. Health as an art? Okay, let's think about it. How we all have a different look at health, not taking it for granted, then really understanding, wow, we have so much potential to live a totally different potential, make different choices. But that's an art. And now, listen to Alexsandra, because she knows and she will share a lot of ideas, and you can start implementing to have a higher quality of life. Here, the conversation with Alexsandra Rehlinger. Hi, Alexsandra. Welcome back. We had just a week ago a first talk, and I'm so happy that we have now the time to talk a little bit longer and even record it.
Yes, me too. It's great to see you again. Yeah.
Connection to you, and then saw your website and the title, The Art of Health. Oops, I really needed to stop and think a little bit. I never had with health something, what is it called, the art. Art is going to be a painting or whatever, the artist. And health, and when I thought about it, I always took it for granted when I was young, or was wondering why grandma is not feeling so good.
Yeah.
Then the other part is thinking of health is, I'm sick. I never really, when I was sick, got health. And this system also, I guess, in England or London, where you are, when they talk about health care, it's connected to, now you're sick.
I think for most of the world, that's what we would assume, right?
Yeah.
That if you're not sick, you must be well.
What is really health care in the positive way, and especially what is the art of health?
Exactly. I think it doesn't exclude science. I want to make that clear from the beginning. I think it's about gathering the data, having the data, but looking at a human through a different filter rather than just data. It's about who you are, not just what you are. But also, we are made out of the earth, aren't we? We're made out of the soil. I mean, some people would say we're made out of the stars, all of the elements and minerals in the soil. We're made out of that. And I think that's true, so all of that comes together in this synergistic conglomerate practice. It's not just science, and it's how do you look at somebody? It's not just your head. You're looking at you're engaging with someone as another human and understanding what is it that's wrong here. What is it that's not aligned? What's not in balance, you know? And obviously I started in psychology. I think I told you that. And I was an art psychotherapist.
Hmm.
And I still use that. So part of that was there too, because I do think health is continually happening. The organism is a creative, we're in a, you know, nature is creative. We're part of that. And it's a creative process, you know, and how do we facilitate that? And that's an art.
When we are nature or a creative process, then how was my life? I maybe when I was very young, I had a kind of creative, but it was more curious. I wouldn't call it the really creative. But then I was normed. I was not in school. They were not interested that I'm creative or whatever. So that's
Well,
why.
I think creativity, excuse me, I don't think creativity is necessarily about art. I think creativity is just the natural combination of ideas and elements and factors. It's not necessarily a picture or a painting or a song.
No,
You know,
no, just
creativity is happening all the time.
yeah, and entrepreneurs or technicians, everything could be creative or what is this, home designers and everything. But when connected with health, I never thought about creativity. And I think most people in my life for a long time regarding also the body, there was no creativity. It was more, well, please follow, body, follow me.
And
And
I think in a way, the world is kind of moving in that direction still. You know, I have a lot of people who kind of give me data. They'll go, oh, here's my blood test. Tell me what I need. Tell me what's wrong. And I'm like, you know what? There's a person behind this data. And that's who I need to know to understand what that data actually means. Because it can mean a million things, but depending on who you are, how you lived, how you think, how, you know, what's your lifestyle, all of those factors help you understand the data. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of numbers, you know. And that's why I think it's an art too. You know, it's about understanding which factors are relevant. And that means having a relationship with that person.
and when you just said the numbers and people ask what is it, comes up the idea, okay, modern medicine is looking at the body more like a machine. So I know exactly when this data is not wrong, we just fill a little bit oil in the engine and then it works again. But next to creativity, I feel also is then the individuality. So we are individuals. So we need to really also in this way be creative. Like you said, there is a person behind the data who from the data coming, but also the person who interprets, not putting me just in the normal machine
Yeah.
here. So says, oh, that's just your individual data, and now we look at that.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting. I was just thinking what came to mind was a patient years ago, must be like 15, 20 years ago, with migraines all the
Mhm.
time. She was in her 50s or something. And she was having migraines all the time. And I was just going through her health history and her life history, which is what I do because I need to know, how did you get here?
Mhm.
And all sorts of story came out of that. And of course, I'm asking questions. What is this? What about that? And then, of course, things come up. So you ask a little bit more. And there was some epiphany about, you know, some grievance with her sister or something, some deep grievance she had. And, you know, she cried and she had this emotional release. And of course, we continued. And then I continued with the more intellectual, you know, data oriented stuff. Anyway, she had come from Sweden or something like that. Somebody had recommended her. Anyway, she contacted me like 3 weeks later and said I haven't had a migraine since. She'd been having several a week. And
Mhm.
I was thinking to myself, well, we didn't do anything, you know. It wasn't like I'm going to intervene here. It
Yeah.
was just again where I think relationship is so vital to healing, you know. I really, I mean, it's not about.
Are you saying the relationship to you was a healing process,
Well,
or
I mean, I don't think I was the answer, but again, you know, I think what does it mean to heal? It means to be whole. And sometimes, you know, maybe we've tucked something away to go,
Mhm.
Really, I can't deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. Or maybe we do that, we do that quite unconsciously because it's uncomfortable or we don't know what to do with it. And
Mhm.
then somebody asks us the question and we go, oh, wow, well, here it is. And somehow we let it go.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes that's what, when I mean relationship, I mean the relationship with the other, whatever that is. It can be a book, it can be art, it can be music, it can be a conversation, it can be an
Yeah.
article.
Theoretically, yes, but just talking about this is a doctor. Um, but it sounds for me like the simple idea, very roughly simple idea. There is an event in your life, you have a kind of trauma. A trauma is a kind of energy block, changes frequency, and doesn't
Absolutely.
allow the body to really function. Or there is a kind of don't go there, don't heal there. Yeah, keep the distance. And then I think maybe coming back to the art, it's an art what you have to figure out where the problem really is and not just solving the symptom.
I guess it's following the, it's a good question. I remember thinking about that case too, going, I remembered that situation where we got to that, but I wasn't looking for it and I wasn't trying to fit. I'm not, when I'm working with anyone, I'm not trying to fix them. I'm trying to understand them.
Yes, but when they say, I have migraine, I have a problem, you try to understand where the problem comes from.
Well, I try and understand the person.
Yeah.
For me, there's a human there.
Yeah.
They have a whole universe of understanding and perceptions and experiences. Like, I'm like, what's in there? Who is that?
Yeah.
And how can I understand you to understand where this fits in there or doesn't fit, or how did it happen? Like you said, traumas are happening very unconsciously most of the time. We're having a response, a reaction, and we do that very unconsciously. So how do we bring consciousness, awareness to these areas? And sometimes we do that very pointedly, or we can just have a conversation and find, oh, look what we found here. And I think that's an art of maybe, hmm, I mean, I don't,
It
it's a
comes,
good question.
it
I
comes,
don't know. I think it's about relating.
yeah, and here comes another art topic.
Being real. Like I love that on your website. Be real. I think it's being real. Yeah.
Yeah, that is for sure. If it's real, everything, like
Absolutely.
Gabor Mate says, living out or authenticity, yeah, resolve the trauma. But now you have the title, The Art of Health, and there's something when those people come to you. Oh, sure, it was a kind of recommendation there, but in being with you and talking with you is a lot of trust also. There must be art also in the so-called healer that the people can open up and dare to go there.
Absolutely. And again, that's why I come back to it's about relationship.
Mhm.
And it comes back to being authentic and me. Excuse me. I told you I had a cough. Sorry. A spring cough. So I think it really does be about being really authentic myself.
Mhm.
I have no agenda. Usually I'm just very curious and
Yeah.
open myself. And if I can be curious and open with that person,
Mhm.
and I think without judgment, I think that's a really big thing too. I'm not judging, and I think you're right. I think it does have to do with trust, but how do you garner that in a healing relationship? Sometimes I mean I've been in healing relationships where I think, oh, I'm never going to trust this person to heal myself, for myself. And I think, oh, I'm not, I didn't feel like they were open enough to be there.
Yeah.
So how could I be? So
And
I
how
think it does require being
much
open.
time you, yeah, plan or when someone comes on as a first time? And for me, it feels when you said I'm just there for and with the person, it feels for me also I really have time for the person.
That's right. I mean, we do, right? And different than, I mean, this is where I feel really for my Orthodox colleagues, they have 15 minutes with somebody.
Yes.
But I still think in 15 minutes, I sometimes used to do events where we would go and we would have like 15 minutes. But again, it's exactly what you said. It's about being totally present. I remember years ago, at the beginning of my practice, 25 years ago, I'd be like trying to prepare. oh my God. And then my diary was overwhelmed and I'm not prepared. And I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to have to be really present. And then I realized that I got much more done. I was much more available and much more developed happened because I was just, I wasn't already planning what we might do, what I might ask, what would I look at. I was just there with the data with them and just going, okay, here we are. And it was, I gave up all the other stuff. It's just like be present, and how much, and it comes back to too, how present can we be with ourselves? How present are we in our lives? And I suppose the more present we are, full stop, we bring that into the interaction, and that allows, the meeting of personalities and a chemical change happens, Carl Jung would say. And I think that's true. I think some change happens when two real universes meet, for sure. Well, let's hope.
So, yeah, I actually have three questions in mind. Don't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
one just a kind of feeling is when you talk about the art of health is, it's in the end, it's the art of living because when it says live, but when you say you're really there for the person and you're using so much more the right, we say, hemisphere of your brain, and
Yeah.
the technical stuff and the data is left brain, and can only find what is okay. We plan to measure this, but like now we said with the migraine, and there's a relationship with the sister or whatever. That was not in the blood test. It was not somewhere.
We weren't even looking, we weren't even there yet. I was just, trying to understand this person in their life. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's a tuning in also in the kind of whatever field of the other person or
I believe in that. I think that's
content
true.
body.
In neurolinguistics, they talk about that. And I certainly did my NLP training, being really present to yourself and being very present, full stop. You create an environment of openness and trust. And then you can, second position somebody. You can feel into another person.
Yes,
Intuition is some woo-woo. It's just the ability to be present to what is available to us in our sphere.
yeah, I think we all can do it. We just when we do seminars, some depends on what it is. We have exercises for this, but everybody experience. You go in a room where people are sad, and you feel sadness, but it was not your sadness. It was just somehow in the room or the people. Oh, they are crazy happy. It's very hard not to smile, huh? And
Yeah. Yeah.
we get it. We are not just consciously getting it. Huh?
I
And
mean, I think that raises a point about boundaries and is there a space between me and the other?
Mhm.
And we talk about the energetic world before we started. You kind of talked about that, and I think that that's true. If we look at physics, this is just a bunch of molecules bouncing around. So if we can tune into, if we can bring our awareness into that, how
Mm.
could we not feel everyone?
But you need
We
to
could.
you need to take your ego out of the way because then you can't feel it really. Yeah? So they're simply sorry for all the people in white. If I'm the doctor, I have my procedure. Then I try to get you in my method and not just
Yeah.
here we just frequencies and feeling.
I mean, I think we kind of need, we can lose our boundaries, and that's not a good idea in a therapeutic relationship either.
Mhm.
We need to have an element. And I think it comes back to kind of being present, knowing yourself, having enough of a practice in your
Mhm.
meditation or whatever it is to kind of know, well, this is me. And then maybe we begin to feel that they call that transference. We feel the other person and we know that actually it's not them, it's us, or it's us. It's not, excuse me, it's them, not us. And so we
Mhm.
understand where it's coming from because that can be that can be inappropriate too, when we're
Yeah.
picking up everything. That's not always useful, to know what's mine and what's not mine. And yet, of course, we're on one planet, we're in one world, and we are all in
Mhm.
this together. And invariably, I think we probably do all feel what's going on.
Yes, it's just how we, yeah, how aware we are what is it really, and not suppressing it also. Or like Deepak Chopra, just his recent book was Quantum Body.
Oh
And
yeah.
says it's also the question, I guess, also, and what do we believe, what kind of concept? And if there is a soul or there's something out of the physical body, then maybe who is the observer and who is really the person? Yeah, because the word person or persona comes from the old Greek language, and it
Yeah,
was theater when they had the mask in front of the face.
exactly.
So if we take the mask off and then really look there, if we dare, most people are still hiding themselves. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, Plato's cave comes to mind, where we're seeing
Yeah.
our projection. Absolutely. I think that's true. I think we are. I mean, there was somebody was telling me about some research recently, that they were saying you're never really seeing the world. Everything's upside. Everything is not as you imagine, it is not. And I think, it's all how we perceive it.
Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
why I also love these simple words, get real. Because get out of fantasies, get out of assuming, get out of, yeah, mask, persona, and
And,
check. And that
and
is,
how do you do that though? How do we do that ourselves? And how do we help others to do that if we're, excuse me, if we're in a therapeutic relationship? How do we facilitate that? I mean, obviously, I think it comes from just being in that state, but it's this is why everybody always asks me, what's the most important thing for health? Over the years, I'm like,
yeah. Well, my experience,
meditation, probably.
when we talk about health, my experience is talking with a lot of health professionals around the globe. They studied 6 years, a lot of tests and everything.
Yeah.
They didn't study health.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was going to study medicine and I looked at all the medical programs and I thought, I don't really see them teaching how to be healthy. And so that's why I changed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yes, it's a historical. I think it's a historical development. I studied law, and the only thing I needed to study was people are fighting who is right. It was no prevention idea, nothing. It was
No
always
mediation or
after the
anything.
problem occurred. The doctor after the problem occurred, or even also tax guys after the problem occurred. So that is a big shift now. We are going as just why we're interested in having problems.
I mean, a lot of Western medicine came out of World War II, when people were being shot and maimed, and how do we stay that problem, that acute state? And we've sort of stuck in that, dealing with acute. Orthodox medicine is exemplary at dealing with acute issues. And I would, I think we're lucky in that respect. And
Yes,
thank God.
the so-called repair medicine is incredible what they can do today. Yeah.
It's wonderful, and thank God it exists. And then we are obviously most of us are pretty not in an acute state, and so most people are kind of chronically unwell and they don't see that. It's kind of under the radar. And
Yeah.
that's the problem, isn't it? They're like they don't see you underneath. I think I told you I had a colleague who's a medical colleague who said, unless they're coming in crawling with broken bones and bleeding, there's not a lot I can do for them. I thought that was funny, but probably true.
Mhm.
And where does it come from? Goodness, we're going way off piece here, aren't we? But I do think it's a social problem, because we haven't facilitated how to be with ourselves. We don't teach that. We have infinite opportunities for distraction, especially now.
It's a general idea. Just look, because I'm born in Germany, I see more the German government. But they're all talking about going in debts, making more debts or not debts and everything. And it's recently someone has just in case we had no debts, what would we do then?
In case we have what?
The budget. We always work a minus in the government. Yeah, we always yeah go and
Sorry.
yeah and debts and somehow the politicians stealing the money and no, not creating the money, they're just using and okay, make more minus and the next generation can pay it up.
There's no accountability. Nobody wants to take responsibility.
Yeah, and no, there's no vision. there is no vision really for what if we wouldn't have the money problem, what you see then in the country. And this was also for me a point, and I'm still dealing a little bit with it. Now I turned 72, and when I was 60, I got all these pensioner feelings and everything. Now you're old and everything, and everybody treated you old, and you get a cheaper ticket on the train because now you're old and everything. It was
I'm
a
60. I know. It's exactly what
powerful
happens.
genetic field.
Oh my God.
And 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 when I had the first what I call the health issues, realizing later it's more mind issues and health issues, but everybody told me also, now you're 25 or 40, and from now on it goes down.
I
So
know.
my only vision was, hopefully it stays a while like this. Yeah, hopefully it stays a while like. And and when I now turns it around and realized my self-talk, and says, okay, every scientist who is involved with whatever longevity topics says our body is built for 120 and 150 years. In the Bible, it says in the beginning, my breath should be with you 120 years.
At
So
least, yeah.
now I'm 72. This may take 120. It would be 48 years. And shit, I have no vision for that.
Okay.
So I have no, what if I'm really healthy? I don't really have a vision and a picture for, wow, how fit I could be, how healthy I could be. And go, because I grew up, you do this, go to school, then you study, then you
Oh,
go,
yeah.
and then you wait till you die. And now they say, forget all the people who died before at 80, they're another 40 years.
Exactly. You're only in midlife. Exactly.
Yeah. How to create a vision for the kind of new persona says, "Wow, I'm fit. I'm young again, and yeah, another beautiful 40 years or even more."
At least. And I think it comes kind of back to purpose, doesn't it? How do we want to live our life in a meaningful way?
Yeah.
And if we have a purpose, then of course, I don't know. Is it of course? I'm just wondering. I think purpose obviously for me extends beyond my life. It includes a legacy of meaning that
Mhm.
hopefully, we're kind of leaving something that is hopefully meaningful.
I
Yeah.
can I can totally agree, um, because yeah, it's a while ago, 10, 15 years ago, I got a depression because why should I go up in the morning? So I did the normal life I did.
Yeah, of course.
And then I made some, or it gives a recommendation in seminars. The doctor tells you you have 6 months and 3 months. So I was an error,
Oh,
just 1 week. So the idea is you shorter the time, you clearer. This didn't work for me. Or then there's another idea. At your grave, people are talking. And
oh
no, it
yeah.
doesn't matter really what they talk. I'm
I
dead.
don't care what they say. Exactly. Who
But
cares?
then I read in a book what should be there 500 years after you died.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
The
and
legacy. The legacy.
yeah. So what is my impact in the world? What can I create? What is really, what is the gift I'm bringing in the world? And
Yes.
not an ego thing. Yeah. So I just
No, no, God, you're gonna be dead anyway.
the monument or a street after my name, but just in 500 years sitting with you on cloud 27 and looking down and then say, wow, this happened because I did that.
And you intend some of that, right? You intend that, and bringing it back to where we were, and like you bring that into your presence so that your interaction is infused with that. And it's not a head. I don't think it's a head trip. You
No,
know,
no, no. It
I
needs
don't
to,
think it's a head trip at all. You I don't know. I mean, I think it's constantly adjusting for course. I'm constantly like a plane adjusting for course, but seeking to find that place where I feel like, oh, this is me on course. This is where I'm living my purposeful, meaningful life. And, trying to, finding my North Star and keep focused on that. I
Yeah.
don't think we teach that either, and a lot of times it becomes religion. It becomes a religion, or it's pushed into religion or spirituality, or this personal development. None of it's bad or wrong, and I've done it all, but I think somehow we don't have that again in relationships. We don't learn that from each other. We don't learn that from our society. We don't
Yeah.
kind of teach
Well, we're
that it's
coming back
a
to
good
the
idea to do that.
norms, huh? Just. Yeah, if you
Yeah,
look at nature, the rose should be a rose and nothing else, huh? Yeah, and the strawberry is strawberry and not the walnut tree. But we are trained to be what it's in or what.
yeah,
Mm.
fit into the system. Exactly. I mean, I'm so grateful I kind of never
So coming
fit
back
into that,
to the first
wanted to.
question, what is the art of health? When we talk about this, is it, from what you mean with art of health, is it really that the meaning of life or the purpose is included, or is it an add-on?
No, I mean, I don't know. I've written in my little, been refining it, of course, for years, but it's really about my work is very much about aligning people to nature and also their own nature. And I
Mhm.
think if I can help them be healthy, which means aligned to nature, because we're also not aligned to nature, then invariably their own nature will also align and they will become more aware of it. I mean, how many people have, I mean, I, I don't know if that's a good thing, but people have told me, oh, I left my marriage, I quit my job, I chose a new career, I'm doing this, they've changed their lives. And I never, that's never been the intention of them coming. That's never been the point of them coming, but it's always been about them. They're not well in some way. Something's not right, whether it's mentally or physically. So when we bring in that alignment, then of course, I do think a natural impetus for purpose and meaning and direction arises, because I think that's who we are. Why would we be here? We're all born. There's going to be some impetus to our life. Are we aware of it? Maybe we're not. And if we align into our nature with the natural elements that we need to align into as a species, then it will naturally. I think it naturally arises. I do.
And here we're coming back to nature, that we understand that we belong to nature and we're not separate to nature. Nature is not just where food comes from, the kind of farm. So we are all one with the tree
We're
and
part of it. Yeah. We've come out of it.
mm,
We're a part of it. We are actually a very small part of it,
yeah.
you know, having a huge impact. But I think, yeah, I feel like that is my teacher. Nature is my teacher. Yeah.
When you talk with your clients, partly you try to understand the story, but we just before we did this recording here talked about microbiomes, bacteria in the stomach, and some people say, get rid of the illusion, like a kid sees just one body. I only saw the thing. And it's not just the body, I saw everything. I saw a hotel, justice. I never saw what's in the hotel, how the employees meet, that there's a social room, and how tough it can
Yeah.
be to get an employee or an employee is sick. So all what is behind the facade, we never saw. And it's the same somehow with me. I saw my body, and then to
Good.
learn there are billions and billions of microbes. So who am I?
Yes.
Um, I'm just the skin for the microbes, or someone put by accident a brain on the village of microbes.
I agree. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, that research probably came into the mainstream about 2013 and 14. I remember really diving into that. And there's a great book called 90% Human. It's around here somewhere. It's an excellent read. I highly recommend it. And or 10% human. What am I talking about? It's called 10% human. And obviously we're 90% microbial bacteria. And
Mhm.
originally in the research, they're like, oh my God, it's in the skin, it's in the nervous system. It couldn't be in the brain. No, no, no. I'm like, it's everywhere. We are basically mostly bacteria. And at first I was like, oh, gross. Wait a minute. But at the other end of the spectrum, because I do feel very strongly that I am part of nature, I'm like, I'm okay. They've got it. I just need to trust in them and allow them to, make sure they're all really happy and then I'll be happy. Does that make sense? That's very general, of
I get,
course. I'm not being real
a
scientific.
picture of like a garden. Okay, now I'm a gardener and I get this garden there. I'm not bringing new plants, I just have these plants. And now, how to make a beautiful garden of what there is? Would you call this is the art of health?
Oh wow, you're really asking me. It's not as it's interesting. Is it a garden? I suppose. I feel like everyone is their own universe.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe they have their own garden. That's a lovely analogy. Yeah, I never really considered that, but I love gardening, so yeah, that works. But I'm not sure. I mean, I think there's so many factors to it, right? Because everybody is so unique. Where's their garden? What do they want in it? How do they want to live? How do they want to tend their garden or not? And what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like a victim because there's a nice story. I really love. There's someone hiking, and then he comes to a town, and just on the edge from the forest to town, there's a house with a wonderful garden, beautiful garden. And so the guy was walking there, needed to stop and just admire the beautiful garden. And then he sees someone standing there and is working in the garden and says, "Hey, this is a really beautiful garden. Who are you? Are you the gardener?" I says, "No, I'm the owner, but ah, I think God blessed you with a wonderful garden." And then the owner said, "Yes, but you should have seen the garden the time when God had it alone." And and this analogy just comes up. If I see myself as a garden with all the microbes and everything what there is, would you say I still have a chance, not just be the victim and just keep them quiet and say, oh, maybe happy that they don't beat or eat me, or does I really can make a beautiful garden out of it?
I really love that story. I love that analogy. I think we have a choice at all times, every single one of us. It comes back to choice and consciousness. We're given a certain amount of variables in our garden, and how do we want to work with them? What do we want to do? Do we want to allow it to kind of be the victim? And it comes to kind of genetics. We have all this
Mhm.
wonderful technology that's revolutionized nutrition, nutrigenomic testing. And for years people say, well, that's just my genetics. And that is akin to this is just the garden that I had. I can't change it. That's just what was in
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
This is what God gave me, and that's it.
yeah.
But actually, with the
On the
knowledge.
website, also something like it says was investigate genetic traits. So it's at least for you somehow important.
Oh, I think it has, for me as in a nutrition, I started and then I moved to psychology, but I think, 30 years, and it definitely changes the game. It's a game changer. So you understand your genetic tendencies. Obviously, we're not looking at disease markers. We're looking at functional markers like methylation or metabolics or the nervous system or detoxification, and genes that we have an influence on. Otherwise, there's no point. And by having this knowledge about where your strengths and weaknesses are and what you can do about it is the most empowering thing we have ever had.
Mhm.
So we have this garden and we know, actually, maybe we've done a soil test and we go, oh, there's lots of lead in here, we better take it out. But if we didn't, maybe we just go, oh, that's just the way it is. I'm going to die. That's just the way it is. And a lot of people might do that. Oh, that was the way, that was in my garden. That's the way it was. You know, everybody has diabetes in my family. Everybody has Parkinson's, whatever it is.
Mm.
But actually, with this kind of knowledge, we have a choice, you know, and it comes back to how meaningful is your life?
The garden analogy fits. Okay, I inherited the garden, but my grandpa didn't change something, my mother didn't change the garden, I didn't change the
Exactly.
garden exam. Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. And I think it's, you know, I don't know, for me, it's the most exciting thing. I love it. I'm absolutely obsessed with nutrigenomics. I really am.
Hmm. And
And it can change your, it's changed my life. It has changed my life, having the knowledge, you
mhm.
know, just personally, I guess. I mean, I used to also suffer from getting quite low, you know. I would get low. And I mean, I've always exercised, and I can see why I need to have exercise. Looking at my genetics, I can see why exercise is so important to me. And I
Mhm.
can see that in my genetics. But
Mhm.
then I knew what key nutrients that maybe I wasn't activating, and by taking them, it has just changed the game. You
Mhm.
know, genes that wouldn't allow me to activate certain nutrients. Now I'm taking them in their activated form, and you know, I'm operating in a different place. It's we didn't have this 20 years ago,
Mhm.
you know.
But it's very interesting. Like going back to the garden. Okay, you need to understand what the flowers need, that you can create the garden and how to keep it also, not just make it one day. Um, like we always said, it's the same with the one apple a day keeps the doctor away. So in a month, you know, I take only one day and eat 30 apples. That doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the consistency. Yeah, exactly. And I think that consistency comes back to, you know, what's important to you. Why why do you want to have your garden at all? And
Hmm.
what do you want it to look like in 100 years or 500 years, like we were saying, you know? And
Yeah.
that's one of the first questions I ask when people come is, excuse me, is, you know, you know, so you want to lose weight? I mean, people don't come to me for weight loss. You know, that's not really my thing, but, you know, why is this so important? Whatever the issue is, why is it important that you resolve it?
Hmm.
And, and what's so important about it, and what will it allow you to do that you can't do? So that we really see what the motivator is. Otherwise, if it's not that important, you're never going to do it. You might do it for a week, like you said, or a day,
Yeah.
but then I'm not going to be on your shoulder going, you must do this. You must do it. I'm not going to do that, you know. But if you have something that motivates you to live a bit different life, to change the trajectory of your life,
Mhm.
and why that's important, like we were talking about, then you're gonna, you know, it's always adjusting. For course, nobody's perfect. It's not about living that kind of perfection, but it's knowing, actually, I'm headed there, not there. I don't want to go there, I want to go there. So I'm gonna weave my way over there. And understanding ourselves, both our tendencies genetically, our psychological tendencies, our lifestyle factors, our environment, all of these factors contribute to understanding where I need to tweak, where I need to adjust.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I have something called a PEMI. I don't know if you've
What?
seen that. Is it on my website? I don't think it is. It's called a personalized epigenetic map of influences, and it looks like a big kind of circle with concentric circles inside. In the center is your own genetic picture. Then there's your family influences, because we're born out of this, you know, we're made out of the soil of our parents. And
Hmm.
then there's the like disease factors that come into our life, and our medications. And then there's our behaviors and our lifestyle factors, and then and our diet. And then there is, you know, our beliefs and values, and you know, all of those factors that are more mental, because they drive our behaviors, right? Beliefs and values drive our behaviors. And then outside of that is environment. And that's the penultimate circle, because you can't change, you can move yourself and your environment, but your environment rules. So understanding what all of the factors are, we kind of have a map of where we need to tweak, you know, where we need to adjust.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a kind of astrology in this as well. So,
No, no, I don't. No, I don't.
mhm.
That would be a great little factor in there, but no, no, I don't. No, I think that would be great. Or human design or something like that would be good in there. They also do nutrition with human design. Have you heard of human design?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They have a whole nutritional arm, which I haven't really dove into. I need
Hmm.
to be cloned.
When we had this garden example, or analogy and victim and not victim, how much you see just simply because everything in the universe is energy that the victim you can maybe with some data bring to do this and it does for 10 days on and stops because it's still in the same mood or same with a personality, and the others is just going on a different, or like in modern terms we say timelines, and you create also a different path.
I
um,
think it comes from a modal operator of like possibility. You know, if you think it's possible for things to be different, then it will be.
yeah.
But sometimes we buy most of our beliefs from our unconscious pre-cognitive stages of our life. You know, a lot of our beliefs are bought then quite unconsciously from our parents or our society or the culture. And
Mm,
then we buy that. We don't even know we've bought that belief. And then we live and we operate within this kind of perhaps limited view. And
mm,
if somebody goes, actually, here's a belief that it's possible that it can be different. And then all of a sudden the door opens and there's a much bigger garden. And we go, oh, it can be different. I'll have a much bigger garden.
mm.
Yeah, I'll go over there. I'll have a few trees. You know, we'll have a different life if we think it's possible. I think that's the primary difference between someone who's a victim and someone who's not. You
You
know,
said,
and also there's all sorts of values in there, right?
yeah,
there
that,
might
oh,
be
and
there might be some payoff.
and then the kind of group values, and we all have the tendency looking for recognition, and so then we may be already in the trap because then the group value decides or it dictates where we're going.
And if we get value from that, if we, you know, because we know also psychologically that being, you know, ostracized is like the worst thing that we could experience. So
Mm.
people tend to want to join the group at whatever cost, even at the cost of their own well-being, you know. So that's really sad, but it's true. I think it's true.
There is also a lack of, when they call it purpose, meaning, because if I don't have a purpose, I think, okay, I can go everywhere. If I really clear, like you said, the North Star, then, okay, it helps so much making daily decisions. No, 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 no. Like you said, we all need to correct, but if you don't have the North Star, it's hard to correct. Yeah.
And again, I think if people don't realize that they have a North Star, do
Yeah.
they even know it's possible? Like I
Yeah.
said, some of these patients came in, we weren't talking about, you know, what they wanted to do with their life as a primary focus. But
Mhm.
invariably, you know, once you're trying to iron out the areas that are adding stress, you know, where's the stress? Where's the discordance? Where is this coming from? Oh, it's my job. I hate my job, you know, or my relationship isn't right, or whatever it is, you know, then then we have choices, you know, and then you navigate those choices and then you have the result. I mean, I had some woman very unwell. I can't remember what her primary issue was, but actually she was in a marriage and it was terrible. It was a terrible marriage. And ultimately her belief system around, I think she was Catholic, she couldn't divorce him. It wasn't okay.
Mhm.
But because it was so bad, she was miserable and she was having all these health effects. And she finally acknowledged that. And I said, well, there's nothing I can do. If you don't want to change that belief,
Yeah.
that, you know, God will let you have a happy life without this person, then I think that's the end of our journey together, you know.
Mhm.
And I think that was the bottom line, you know, because beliefs drive behavior. And if that's a belief that you don't think can change, then you're not going to get anywhere.
So how much are you a doctor and how much you are a life coach?
I don't think I think they're, you know, they're one and the same, you know.
Mhm.
I don't think they're, I don't, you know, people come to me, like I said, with symptoms And
Hmm.
then we're digging in there going, well, where is the root to this symptom? What is the problem? Where did this start? Oh, here it is. You know. So, I mean, I'm interested in the cause, and it's not just biochemical. I don't believe that things are, I don't think we're just a biochemical being or even a microbiome. Again, we're part of a system and we have a place in that system. I hope.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a delusion. Fine.
But it's in general, it's like this, and in general also society everywhere, it's about to find the right place. What's your place? Or what is your purpose? Why are you here? Yeah. Hmm. And what fulfills you really? Hmm.
Yeah.
You,
Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. Have you heard of that? Wild Geese by Mary Oliver? Have you heard of Mary Oliver?
no, I'm not sure.
Mary Oliver, she's a poet, and the poem is called Wild Geese.
Hmm.
I almost have it memorized, but I won't put you through it. But it's all about that. It's about, you don't have to suffer. You just have to be true to yourself, be true to your animal nature. And I think we are animals, and that we have a place in the universe.
Yeah.
I'm sure we do.
You use the word knowledge when it says, oh, because I'm happy that I have this knowledge now. When you looked at what data or whatever. What is the difference for you looking at things? Knowledge or just awareness? Be aware of it. What do you really need to learn for the art? Or is this mainly, okay, if something is totally wrong, you have experience, you learn something, you have knowledge, and can help me faster. But without awareness, nothing goes. Or with awareness, a lot of things you solve, like the
That's an
migraine.
interesting
So,
question.
mhm.
It's a very good question. Well, I mean, obviously, awareness would include knowledge, but
Hmm.
because once we know something, we can't not know it.
Hmm.
And so that our awareness grows because we have, when the nutrigenomics information came
Hmm.
into my sphere of awareness, then when I started to look at my patients when I first saw them, I automatically would have an awareness of, oh, maybe this genetic pattern is running, or maybe this is running. And and that so is it ever one or I think they're mutually, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think they are, it's all part of the same. Awareness includes the knowledge
Hmm.
rather than, is it just knowledge that I'm using or is it just awareness? I think, well, it's always going to be awareness, hopefully.
Then
Hopefully.
we have a third word. Um, it's the experience.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I have a 23-year-old cat and she is
Mhm.
very, come here. She's very old. She's
Okay.
23.
Wow.
So I have to kind of attend to her.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying.
No, just is the experience because I learned a lot, but I couldn't really apply it. And we had the same in Germany. Okay, the coin needs to drop. So
Yeah,
and then suddenly before you say, "Oh, now I understand what Mama da, yeah,
yeah,
when she said this." Um, so this okay, we can call it awareness, but experience something, yeah, like bicycling, everything. If you never did it, then really, it's always different. Yeah, you can learn a lot of books, maybe be a mom, but after the child is born, it's different than you could read it.
yeah. I think that's a very good point in terms of health too.
Yeah.
In terms of this day and age, where I think most people don't really know, have many people have probably never had an optimal experience of health.
Yeah, all forgot. Like in my case, I said, oh, yeah, like lack of vision. But when I had my stress with the different companies and Hamburg law, first tax, and all those stuff, I compensated a lot, and I had 117 kilos weight.
Oh, wow.
And so I was quite big. Um, I understand now why I need to compensate, also emotional protection, and for sure also the wrong eating. And then one day came a day I would want to change it and lose weight. And then lack of awareness, lack of experience or whatever, maybe also lack of knowledge, but I go less. But I couldn't lose really weight because I was afraid where all my organs need space. Yeah? I couldn't really get the idea there is too much fat we don't need. I couldn't really get it. And then I needed to really see awareness and experience. Look, okay, they slim, they still have all the organs and they seem to fit in. To really then to learn to lose the fat and it still is working or even is even working better. So with the experience then comes the trust and especially now growing older and becoming fitter, it's a lot of paradigm shift and I
And
need
isn't it though also that you had knowledge? You looked at you obviously looked at some diagram or some
yeah.
anatomy, and it's all within the rib cage, and I've got a lot more than rib cage, so there's room.
Mm.
Is it that? Is it partly that you understood the reality of it? Is that this
I
is where
don't
my
know
organs
really
are?
what it is. I also have these concept of like we said, we create a persona. Uh,
Yeah,
got a lot to create sub-personalities. We have different roles in life. And
yeah,
comes a problem, you identify with the role.
of
It was
course,
a kind of survival strategies topic from the childhood.
of course.
So, and when this sub-personality I created, and I invested a lot in the fat, yeah. So it was
Yeah,
work, money, everything to
yeah.
become fat. Mm. And I created a kind of, I said, morphogenetic energy field. Like a controller talks about pain, bodies, and so on.
Yes, exactly. I was just
Mm.
thinking that.
So, and when you want to get out of this identification, and it was a survival strategy, you had the
Of
feeling
course.
you need to do it. And changing the identification, you easily come to a point, simply said, oh, it feels awful, I need to throw up, or often I die. Because if it's
Yes,
identification, yeah,
that's right. This whole identity that you created, you had to let go of.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
I couldn't,
Absolutely.
I needed to go back to the
Did
fact.
you have an experience in your life when you were thinner?
Um, I really, in my brain, I don't really have this really. I can look at photos from my childhood. I have one experience, a story. Must be around 10. I visit my grandparents, and it was in the summer. I had only short trousers with me. He went in a shop with me to buy long trousers. He couldn't see the thin legs. So
Oh,
there must be a different area in my life. Uh, but I have no energy on it. Remembering is just kind of cut off. And then I just created the persona I needed the protection. Yeah. And because I
yes,
it's
protection.
my
You think it
whole
was
life.
protection.
Yeah.
It was protection.
Yeah.
Protecting obviously a part of ourselves. There's all the work of Chuck Spezzano who talks about, we get into roles and duties and obligations because we become independent because some part of our own vulnerable self hasn't been seen or received or acknowledged or valued or something. And then we go, well, I'm not going to be like that. And so we totally disassociate that part and we might pad it, we might put weight on, or we might become a different person. We create another persona, we create many different personas, and then we get into roles and duties and obligations. And he calls that the dead zone. That a lot of people die there, or relationships die there, or we get sick there because we're not living true to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And like I
and
said,
obviously this
coming to
go
the
on.
true self, and a lot of things changed. And that was interesting also after the collapse I had with the kind of out of body experience and everything. And for a few days, I couldn't really move. I didn't eat. And before that, I was in a studio kind of gym and measuring all body fat and muscle mass and everything. I couldn't eat and so on. And 14 days later, after this, and I slowly was fit enough. It's an EMS studio with a electric impulses, so you didn't work hard. You stand there and just, and then I measured again, and in crazy, nobody could understand it. After laying and not eating, I gained 1 kilo muscle mass and lost a kilo of this visceral fat was gone.
Hmm.
And nobody could understand it. But my explanation is the moment I somehow disconnected from the body and didn't give the body all my stress and what he should do and everything, I let him alone and he started to correct things. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
definitely when people have stress, we get metabolic, that midsection weight that we talk about,
mhm.
that visceral fat is because of stress. So a
Yeah,
lot of times, I have people, they want to lose that weight, and I'm like, you have to do less. You have to walk, not run.
yeah,
Don't exercise too much. And probably that's what it was. You had so much stress that the minute you allowed your body to just rest, it went, I know how to recover.
yeah.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure. There is that self-regulating mechanism. We do have this morphological, like you were talking, field that knows how to be the shape it needs to be and function.
Yeah, there was a really kind of detachment, but also now I live a kind of, I say, a totally different awareness and duality. Yeah, because I know I'm not my body, and here's a body. And I interfere as less as possible in the body and the self. Um, and it's amazing. It's like we say also, the good entrepreneur has a company of the right culture there. He doesn't need to be there all the time.
Yes.
Sometimes it's even better boss go out, we can work better. Um,
Yeah.
somehow, and I'm not interfering. I don't give them my stress anymore, and everything.
But
Oh,
you must also have strategies and behaviors and all of the other supportive things in place too.
yes. No,
I
it's
think this is
coming
what I
back.
always say,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
health has more choice, not less choice. So if we're unhealthy, we might need to reduce we need to kind of rein in whatever's going on so that we train ourselves to you know, have the primary behaviors that support us,
yeah,
behaviors, beliefs, patterns, whatever it is, diet. So that, 75, 80% of the time we're kind of on it. And then, the 15, 20% of the 30% of the time we can have that flexibility. And that should be okay, should be. If we know what it is that 75 to
but we know
80%
what
is.
it is. Here comes again the question: what is art of health? Is this when you say just with health you have more choices? Is the quality of the choices?
It's always going to be about the quality of the choices.
Mhm.
That's a really good point. Yes, I
And
like that.
need to learn to say no to things.
Well, I mean, at the right time. Maybe you love ice cream. I love ice cream, but I need to know when I can have ice cream. I can't have ice cream every day for breakfast.
Yeah,
Maybe I make sure that I eat, I make sure I have my vegetables and my protein. And then if I still have room, I have whatever. We need to know what we need to function in a good, positive way. And then if we have time and room, then yes, include that. If you're sick, then probably having ice cream isn't a good idea. If you know what I mean? So,
I understand, but here comes my question then. This sounds, I need to go to analysis. Okay, Alexandra, tell me about my genetic traits, and then I follow the program. When I can eat ice cream or not. That I would call more discipline and not really the art of health.
oh, so you're right. You're right. It isn't a I try not to be like that, and I'm not like that at all. I'm definitely not like that. But I think, understand. I mean, I think once you know where health is, I think that's the big thing. Getting
That's the main
getting
thing.
my clients to have an experience and an awareness of an experience of health and an awareness of what it takes to maintain that or have that. I've
Mhm.
had clients go, God, I hadn't seen them in a while. Then they go, God, I went way off the rails. I felt terrible. So I just remembered that actually I needed to eat more like that. Once I did, I felt better. And I'm like, my job is done. You know what you need to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's it, really. It isn't. is it about discipline? It's about understanding your tolerances and your what it is that what you want out of life. And so you make those quality choices. You don't have a pizza, you have, whatever, you have a whole grain with vegetables, you eat
Mm.
different, more quality foods. It's maybe a carbohydrate with protein, maybe there's cheese, I don't know, whatever, but it's a different quality.
Yeah, I can, with the word quality, well, that helped me a lot because when I was a student, we went there to eat. We got, with little money, we got the biggest portions and everything. Or then later, fast food tastes good, we take it and everything. Or what is fast to go, or what you can get fast. But then later came a question, what is my highest quality or for my highest good? But always then, is this the best quality for my? And then, oh, different answers came, totally different answers came. And I'm always asking for, is this really the best for my system? Is this really the best for my life? Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm constantly asking that question. And
Mm-hmm.
I've learned and changed over the years. I think I told you I was a vegan and a vegetarian for 25 years. And I don't think that's the right answer at all for anybody to be a vegan, for sure. Um, and then there's the quality of, if you're going to have meat, what kind of meat? Are you going to, like, where is it from? Again, we were talking about providence a little bit before, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that providence obviously comes from people who are creating that food with real intention and meaning and value and purpose.
Yeah,
That's right. And some people go, oh well, an organic food I think is absolutely essential. We go, oh, it's so expensive. I said, isn't it amazing that with less interference we have to pay more? But at this stage, I think we do need to make those choices. So that becomes the baseline of food. All food is organic. And then if it's not organic, then it will be labeled as not organic. And then we go, oh no, I don't want that. I'm going to choose regular food, which is organic and healthy and
yeah,
pesticide free and raised positively.
good
And
point.
if we all choose that, maybe in 50 years it will be.
Yeah, that is a good point, just we labeling it different. When you said choices, it's a choice, do I eat this and then I'm looking on the outside. But you say also the ecosystem is in us. So it must be not only choices outside, there are also choices inside.
And it's become muddied in many ways, hasn't it? Because the environment has become so polluted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the things that I'm continually having to tell people is to reduce their fish content
Mm-hmm.
because fish is so polluted and waterways are so polluted. And, everybody thinks salmon is so healthy when it's the worst. It has the highest levels of pesticide of any animal, land, or sea, and it's not a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
And we are all living downstream of 175, 80 years of industrialized farming and pollutants and processed food and chemical interventions in the food chain on every level, in every aspect, in the way we rear our animals and the way we take that food and bring it to our plate. you know so we are living downstream of that now, in terms of the environment. So then we do have to make those choices.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do if we want to be well, right? And this is why I think, you and I have a stronger constitution than children do now. And that my job, the biggest challenge I have is getting young people to have an experience of health.
Yeah.
And do they believe it? I mean, I've had some really extreme patients, and I had a little boy, 1 year old, with full body eczema from birth. Like that is just, it's just so sad, and
Yeah.
actually had to convince his mother that we could change it. And she had already spent a year with the Orthodox. And so it was really helping her believe that it was possible in another way. He hadn't had a bath in like 11 months because water wasn't a good idea, like from that model. And we did get there. And obviously he was like that because of her diet and her husband's diet. And it's amazing that she got pregnant, but obviously they did. But their diet was terrible, and she could see that. And we had a discussion, and her next child, super healthy, super strong. In fact, the first one also had a growth issue later on, and then subsequently had another young man, probably in his early 20s. Again, he'd had like eczema everywhere, like crust terrible. He came in with hats, like covering his face since he was like an infant, and had tons of medication. It was just getting worse. He was hiding himself every time he came, and my job was really to help him believe that it could be different
Yeah.
because he had never had that experience in his life. And
Yeah.
we did get there. It took us many years because he just was like, I can't do it. I don't believe it. And he would go off and read up and come back. I read somebody else was saying what you did. I'm like, oh, do you believe it now? And then he would do it. And he would, and I remember the day he came in without a hat. I was just like so happy. And it was about the choices, but also my job was, like you said, maybe life coaching. It's possible. It can be different because I think increasingly people don't know what optimal health is. I'm sure you are much healthier than many of your younger colleagues,
Yeah, it can be.
you know,
And a lot of people.
or people your own age. I'm sure.
Mhm.
That's obvious looking at you. But I think that's a big thing. I know I have clients, I do their genetics, they're older and they have incredibly strong genetic pictures. And then I have young people, I'm like, oh, wow, we are degenerating as a species. So how do we have to make those choices. We have to encourage people that, yes, you have to make this choice. If you want to live to 150 or 80,
Yeah.
they're saying young people today don't have the life expectancy of you or I.
Yeah. In America, they say the next generation is the first one, which, or
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
kids die earlier than the parents, huh? Mhm.
that's right. That's been going on for a while.
We're killing us ourselves. Yeah.
And I think that's because of this downstream. We're not recognizing that we're part of the ecosystem and that ecosystem is making us and feeding us and, nourishing us or not. Heavy metals are huge, as plastics are rife. I'm constantly doing chemical and heavy metal testing on my clients because those are the things that interfere with genetic expression. And
Mhm.
when they're not having the results that we expect, we go, what's in the way? And we do these tests, and invariably there's heavy metals and chemicals in every one of us, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We can't really avoid it at the moment, huh? We get it.
Well, you have to live optimize your
Yeah.
functions so that you can metabolize that stuff as best you can and understand what it is so you can pointedly go, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to take that out of my system. I didn't know I had that, so I'll work to remove it so
Mm.
that you can more capably detoxify and function, right? Because if you have heavy metals, then you're not going to function optimally.
Function is the one thing, and the other word or saying I found on your page is living in harmony. So that is harmony with your microbiomes, harmony with people around you, and harmony with the ecosystem. It's harmony with everything.
Harmony with yourself, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the first bit. That is the first piece, right? You can be with yourself.
The parents where you had the child problem, if they have a dogma, how food or whatever should be, any dogma is maybe not really harmony, huh?
I mean, it's interesting, dogma, the word, because sometimes we might need to adopt a particular, I mean, exercise could be considered as a dogma, like I'm exercising 3 times a week or whatever it is. Oh, that's so dogmatic. So we have acceptable dogmas, right, around health and behavior and life. But every different strokes for different folks in a way. It might be that, you have to do a cleanse for 2 months or something. I don't know. Everybody's very different. You might have to adopt a particular, more stringent way of living, eating, behaving, thinking so that you can train your system to be in a different state and perception, right?
But the
And
dogma
that
is
might
something you're not
be
allowed,
dogmatic.
somehow you're not allowed to do something different. And we all, as the moment we are born, we are okay, we have to live. If you want to live, if you want to be healthy, but that is more than for me a kind of cause and effect, a must if you want to have this choice and this result, then you need to make these choices. But nobody needs to. You can leave the planet if you like. You can do this. But dogma is keeping up a belief. This is how the world must be, how it is. And when we talked about get real, refusing getting real.
I still think some, we look at, I mean, I'm going to hold on to that. Like, I think some vegans are dogmatic
Yeah,
right now. There's a lot of dogma around veganism right now in
yeah.
the last, say, 5, 10 years.
Hmm.
Um, and so there is dogma around in all sorts of different ways and cultures, depending on the culture.
Yeah, and the dogma is normally, if it doesn't matter if it's vegan, if it's religion,
Yeah,
whatever, or
that's right.
topics, it's always saying to the other person, you are wrong. This is the only way. It's right. And then we are out of harmony already.
I mean, and then it really begs the question, is there such a thing as, there is no such thing as right and wrong then either, coming
Oh,
of
no.
I always think
Hmm.
about you as a lawyer, like that must be so hard. How do you make that decision that, over here is wrong and just over here is right? It's a very fine line. There's no.
Yeah, I left the profession, but even there, it was not about right or wrong. It was how I am able to convince the judge that he is, yeah, whatever, my favor or whatever. So it was also not about right and wrong, and
Okay.
have a different person there. Your argument is different. They're also humans. So it's amazing
Yeah,
if
of course.
behind the curtain how they decide because they're not machines. And that's why no artificial intelligence makes a lot of better decisions and a lot of this is why you're not the personal emotion, personal story is not
Do you
involved.
think it does? Do you think in law, do you think it does?
Yes, like it says this, and we have a saying on the ocean and in the court, you're in God's hand. Yeah. And
Yeah.
oh, when I studied law and I needed to go to different sessions. I was on a court where were the three professional judges, and we were sitting, the students or sitting there and watching. And the boss of the three, he was just building a house, and
Yeah.
he had so much stress with his workers. The time I was there, no worker could win a case, not possible. He was so pissed off. And it's just we look different. We see different things. So, but
Hmm.
I don't want to go there. We just want to
No, I know, but it does
modern
tie in with
science.
dogma, right? Because
Yeah,
dogma
modern
can be
science.
useful.
Also, the physicians they say, okay, we live in a universe of unlimited possibilities. So, if we grasp that, dogma says always limited possibilities. So it's always against. So that's one Donald Hoffman, one of the professors about consciousness, whatever says, dogma is doomed now finally because someone got a Nobel Prize about insanity. Huh?
There's tons of dogma in health, oh goodness.
Yes,
I
and
mean,
all
and the whole
dogmas.
cholesterol thing is still being touted as a genuine problem, and it's not,
Yes.
it's just not true. It is a dogma that is false.
And life is not linear. It's yeah, we need to live with uncertainty and we need to adjust. And maybe today this food is good for me, maybe in 5 years not. So
Well,
what?
that's right. That's what I try and tell people. They want me to come up with like the perfect diet
Yeah,
for them. And I always say there's no, it is this way for now. And we're moving you to a different state. And once you're there, you'll be able to do something different. And then once you get into your, par, once you find par, and then you know how to manage it, then you hopefully you have all the choice you want. That's
yeah,
that's my goal really with everyone, is that you have all the choice that you want,
and that's yeah,
because that's life. That's really what you're saying, having possibility. What kind of life do you want to have? You know, it's like the people who come in and go, "Oh, I don't do carbs." And I just go, "Well, vegetables are carbohydrates. That must be tough." Or they just go, "Oh, you know what I mean. I don't eat croissants." I said, "Oh, wow, a croissant? Really? You want to live your life without a croissant?" So I think, again, joy and harmony, what is it for you? But again, people have these beliefs and values. I need to look like this. I need to behave like that. And the only way to do that is if I don't have X or I only do Y. And so everybody has their own dogma in a way of how
Yeah.
to live the life they think is valuable. And if it's working for them, great. And if it's not, then we need to kind of help them jump ship somewhere.
So the art of health is also to explore more. Um,
Absolutely, to explore what it means to be you.
yeah.
What does it mean to be you fully expressed and fully living? And what does it mean? But most people, like you said, we're we're born into a system and a culture, and there's all sorts of unspoken dogmas. How many cultures don't raise your head above the pulpit, don't do this, don't do that, and how do we even, grow? It's kind of amazing in a way.
But
We have to.
it's a super goal to live like that. And if you experienced, you don't want to go back.
Exactly. I mean, it's
No, it's
it's a
just a
goal, isn't it? To be
really
total. It's
interesting
my
topic.
goal to be totally expressed. Yeah.
Yes, the full expression of life. That is the main thing. And I guess we all have a lot of potential to express life more,
I think so.
holding
Yeah.
and holding back. Thank you very much for the time to talk. Well, I love it. We could go on, but I think the listener got an impression what you have to offer, and those who are really interested in this way of living a full, yeah, expression of life, and what's the best way to reach you?
Goodness, probably just through email, Alex S at the Art of Health, or LinkedIn. I think on the website is www.theartofhealth.co.uk. I think my contact details are on there. I do take WhatsApp and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
don't really I have YouTube. I'm terrible about social media. I'm
Yeah.
just interested in living life. I want to be 3D. I'm a 3D person.
Yeah, and we are spiritual beings and have to learn to live here.
I know, I know.
More
I know
important.
you're telling me.
We need more support on a 3D level. Yes, that is a really good idea. So we will post here, have your email address here and the website and LinkedIn, and then people can contact
That's
you.
fine.
Yes.
That's fine. It's such a pleasure to talk with you. I love where our conversations go. It's really a pleasure, really. Thank you.
Thank
If you
you.
want to have a, if we want to have a, I remember you wanted to talk about biohacking. I'm like, oh, we didn't even talk about that. If you want to talk about biohacking or you want to talk about
We do
something
it
more
next time.
specifically, we can.
Yes. And see you soon in London.
Yeah, please. Yeah, come. Let's have dinner. Have a good evening.
Good. Good evening and thank you.